Please star 6 your phone.
No, there's 46.
Jack, you got 46 on the call right now.
Right. And he is muting them all?
Yeah, they're popping on, and as they come on, he takes them off.
You're up, Mabel. As soon as Janice is ready.
Okay, Acadia,
Absent,
Acadia 2,
present,
Andover A,
present,
Andover B,
present,
Andover C,
absent,
Andover D,
present,
Andover E,
present,
Andover F,
absent,
Andover G,
absent,
Andover H,
absent,
Andover I,
present,
Bedford A,
present,
Bedford B,
present,
Bedford C,
present,
Bedford D,
absent,
Bedford E,
present,
Bedford F,
present,
Bedford G,
present,
Bedford H,
absent,
Bedford J,
absent,
Brookfield,
present,
Cambridge A,
present,
Cambridge B,
present,
Cambridge C,
present,
Cambridge E,
present,
Cambridge F,
present,
Cambridge H,
absent,
Cambridge I,
absent,
Cambridge J,
absent,
Cambridge K,
absent,
Cambridge L,
absent,
Cambridge M,
present,
Canton Court D,
absent,
Corinth,
present,
Devonshire,
present,
Dorchester A,
present,
Dorchester B,
present,
Dorchester C,
present,
Dorchester D,
absent,
Edinburgh,
present,
Fairborn,
present,
Fairfield A,
present,
Fairfield B,
absent,
Fairfield C,
present,
Fairfield D,
present,
Fairfield E,
present,
Fairfield F,
absent,
Fairfield G,
present,
Fairfield H,
absent,
Gloucester A,
present,
Gloucester B,
present,
Gloucester C,
present,
Gloucester D,
present,
Gloucester E,
present,
Gloucester F,
present,
Gloucester G,
absent,
Gloucester H,
absent,
Gloucester J,
absent,
Gloucester K,
absent,
Gloucester L,
absent,
Gloucester M,
present,
Gloucester N,
absent,
Gloucester P,
present,
Grantham,
present,
Highgate A,
absent,
Highgate B,
present,
Highgate C,
absent,
Highgate D,
Present.
Highgate E,
Present.
Highgate F,
Present.
Highgate 2,
Absent.
Highgate 3,
Absent.
Highgate 4,
Present.
Huntington,
Present.
Idlewood,
Absent.
Inverness,
Present.
Jameson,
Present.
Kensington,
Present.
Knowles 1,
Absent.
Knowles 2,
Absent.
Knowles 3,
Present.
Lancaster 1,
Absent.
Lancaster 2,
Present.
Lancaster 3,
Present.
Lancaster 4,
Absent.
Lyndhurst,
Present.
Lyndhurst,
I'm sorry, absent, absent,
again Lyndhurst,
absent,
Manchester 1,
absent,
Manchester 2,
present,
Manchester 3,
absent,
Manchester 4,
absent,
Maplewood,
present,
Nantucket 1,
absent,
Nantucket 2,
present,
Nantucket 3,
present,
Nantucket 4,
present,
Nantucket 5,
absent,
Oakley Green,
present,
Oxford 1,
absent,
Oxford 2,
present,
Portsmouth,
present,
Princeton,
absent,
Quail Pass,
present,
Radisson 1,
absent,
Radisson 2,
absent,
Richmond,
present,
Somerset,
absent, absent,
yes, sir, ma'am.
Okay.
Southampton 1,
present,
Southampton 2,
present,
Tremont 1,
present,
Tremont 2,
present,
Villeroy,
present,
Worlington,
present,
Yorkshire.
present.
Mr. President, you have a quorum of 59%. Yes, ma'am?
Excuse me, I didn't see Bill Clay online and sent proxy last week by email.
You asked me a question, ma'am. You did not attach the email. You asked me which association, but I'll double check. Highgate C. If you can record that one, make sure.
Do we have a proxy for them?
I received an email from her. She asked me a question, but I will double check right now as
If the
soon as
proxy was attached. Is that what you mean?
Yes. I will double check, Miss Jill.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So could you repeat what you were going to say?
Yes, sir. Mr. President, we have a quorum of 59% with 3,257 units with 69 associations.
Thank you, Marvell. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and I ask that you rise for pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just a reminder for everyone on the phone that we have moved open forum from prior to the minutes and reports. We have moved it to after the management reports, committees reports, treasurer's report, and the president report, and before unfinished or new business. So we will have open forum at that time. The first item on the agenda is the minutes. Do we have what?
President,
Yes?
I would like it to note that Oxford One is present on this phone.
Except we cannot count you present at the meeting because you did not submit a proxy. But we will recognize you if you do have a question or a concern. have the report of the voting for the approval of the minutes?
Yes, we do.
So do I need to do one by one, or can I just go?
No, you can just tell us what the vote was,
Okay.
Mabel, if you want
Okay.
to. But do it A, B, C, and D.
Yes, sir, I'll put the date,
You mean
agenda,
the agenda?
just
Here.
agenda.
Here, here, here.
For the draft minutes for February 21st, 2020, I got a vote of 97.2% yes, with 3,165 units and 68 association, and 2.8% no for, again, sorry sir. For February 21st, 2020, 3,165 units with 97.2% with 68 association voted yes, and 92 units with 2.8% and 1 association voted no.
Was it a no or abstention?
No,
Okay.
it's literally, they basically.
So the minutes from the April 21st,
February 21st.
February 21st membership meeting have been approved. Is there anybody that wants a actual roll call on it, or were you at Bell's calculations? Then we'll accept the calculations and go to the next meetings.
For the draft, reconvened Federation annual membership meeting that was held on April 3rd, 2020. I have 3,165 units with 97.2% and 68 association voted yes, and 92 units with 2.8%, 1 association voted no.
That's what we do.
And that's for the April 3rd.
Ask if anybody wants a roll call on that, or they'll accept your calculation.
Do you guys accept my roll call, or you need to
Accept your,
accept my calculation, or you want me to do a roll call again?
then the minutes for the April 3rd, 2020 meeting are approved.
Okay, so for May 22nd, draft Federation membership meeting minutes, I have 3,165 units with 97.2%, 68 association voted yes, and 92 units with 2.8% and 1 association voted no. Are you accepting my counts, or you want me to do a roll call?
We will consider the approval of the May 22nd, 2020 meeting as accepted.
For July 24, 2020 draft Federation special membership meeting minutes, I have 3,165 units with 97.2%, 68 association voted yes, 92 units with 2.8%, and 1 association voted no. Are you accepting my calculations, or do you want a roll call?
With no objection, then the July 24th, 2020 meetings are approved.
That's also.
The next item are the reports from our management companies. Which one wants to go first? Ginger, you're up.
Okay, I've taken my mask down so maybe y'all can hear me a little bit better. Good morning, membership. We'll start off with the recreational facilities operations. The clubhouse usage for August was 22,400 visits for all 3 clubhouses. Considering August is typically a slow month, that was really interesting data to pull, about 722 people daily average for each of the clubhouses. We have the fitness center usage, just under 5,000 visits for all the gyms for the month of August, with 20% of that being at the South Club. We did have an uptick that month in South Club gym usage, and when some of the staff was down there talking to people, they said, well, they decided to go down there because they could not wear their mask there and not be kind of busted for not wearing their mask. So as a reminder, please mind the policies at both gyms as they've been designed. It's in the best interest and safety for everybody. 500 water class participants, and the 55 total videos posted have had over 6,600 total views. So good news that the fitness programming is keeping the Kings Point community active. On spa and salon usage for August, we served 371 clients. Again, typically a slow month for us. Sales and merchandise numbers were 18,500. Just a slight 13% decrease over the prior year, but still very good activity considering the COVID conditions. On food and beverage operations, we have 3,540 total patrons served in the month of August, with sales just shy of 48,800. On the repairs and maintenance and projects, Nantucket Pool backflow preventer and protective bollard installation has been completed. That was required by the county. The main clubhouse roof membrane on the theater and lobby has been completed. The theater dressing room project is almost completed. We've got the counters and mirrors, the walls, clothing racks, painting, plumbing, etc. that's been worked on by local maintenance here. The electrical and lighting replacement install has been completed by the vendor, and waiting for the electrical permit approval by the inspection by Hillsborough County. Outstanding finally is the furniture delivery by the Baby Boomers group, which, as you recall, were generous in offering a donation for that renovation. So once we get up to being able to have some shows and entertainment, those will be all new dressing rooms in the back. The South Club Pool expansion project, we're still researching that. We've had version 6 delivered by the landscape architect with some proposed budget ranges that we will be meeting with the RFEC to review. And finally, the Kings Point men's and ladies locker room renovation project start is getting ready to go pending final approval of the proposed vendor contract. So look for notices about when those rooms will be closed for resident usage. In tram services, we had a 9% increase over mileage for the month of August, and 13% increase in residents using the tram. So still continued evidence people are slowly getting out and about and getting more active. On the security gate operations, we had a 13% increase of total calls at the front gate, average calls per day 317. If you remember prior data, that number is far lower than what we call in normal times, but it's still pretty substantial. We issued 11,500 passes at the gates for August. Finally, during the month of August, over 5,270 card swipes were documented at the golf cart gate entry. That averages about 170 golf carts daily. Some people have wondered how many people actually use that gate, and it's actually quite popular. Finally, on the special events, flu shots were offered in the clubhouse, and based upon the high volume turnout, CVS will be returning again on October 13th to offer another round of flu shots. And for those of you interested, it's a very simple process. Look for signage of where they'll be offered in the clubhouse. Likely the same room, but look for the signage. Lastly, on the elections, we are still awaiting final word from the supervisor of elections, but the Kings Point Clubhouse will continue to be a voting site for the Kings Point residents. We have requested the event take place in the theater or multiple rooms to assist with the anticipated large crowds and to make it as safe a process as possible, but no official word has come back from them as of yet. Keep in mind, we don't tell them what to do, they pretty much tell us what they're going to do. So we can only give our opinions and wait to find out which rooms that will be in. And lastly, just a reminder, as always, stay apart, wash your hands, and most importantly, please wear your masks and in the clubhouse. Thank you.
Thank you, Ginger. Keith?
Morning, everybody. I'm gonna run through my report with some updates from the beginning of September. Again, just note that all Federation directors currently presently sitting on the board are current owners of their condominium parcels and in the districts that they represent. This has been verified. And also please note financials that your year-end tax returns have been received back. We have just about a dozen left that need to be signed by a board member, preferably the president or the treasurer. So if you haven't signed your tax returns yet, please stop in or have a board member stop in to sign those for your association. And again, our lobby is open at First Service. We're here for you. A couple quick reminders that we still have some features to help limit the amount of traffic in the door if you prefer that. We have the drop box still out front. All of our cams are working in the offices, phones are staffed and available to assist you at any time. And cams can meet with any of the board of directors or vendors for projects in our conference room. Obviously, we have some just limitations on the size in there, but we can meet in the conference room or at your association to facilitate any needed meetings. Administration, again, for the month of August, we completed 58 transfers of sales and 29 leases. These figures are up from previous months, so again, that is a good sign for the community that the sales and leases are back up. Our front office had roughly 800 walk-ins for the month of August. We have 277 notary services completed. And associations that are now using our Avid Exchange program to pay for their invoices each month. We have 87 now out of 113, so the good sign is to have lots of associations on that program to help expedite and pay bills and just keep track of invoices. Good tool to have. If you're not familiar with it, please let us know and we can get you signed up and get a little tutorial going and help you navigate that software. And again, contracts drawn up for the associations. We did 14 contracts for the month. Again, please note that we do contracts to help verify the vendors doing the work, that they have proper license and insurance, and that those contracts are important to just establish the parameters of work, draw schedules for payment, and it adds a lot of protection for each association as they're doing a project like roofing, painting, any major landscaping. So let us know if you've got something going on and get with your CAM, and we'll be happy to whip up the contract for you and get it signed up for your protection. Annual meeting, the first draft of the annual meeting notices have been sent out. They're all in the president's boxes, and an email was sent out to all the presidents to check those out and get us signed back. We're asking those to be signed back to us with your initials by October 6th. Again, meeting dates have been set, and the agenda's in draft form. Just please let us know if we need any corrections or changes. Budgets, First Service has begun collecting information for next year's budgets. We have a lot of the reserve projects information that we're gathering, bulk contract price increases, and all other drivers that drive the budget from Vesta Management, the Land Trust, and so on. We'll be gathering that over the next couple of months and presenting that for you. Down to the couple contracts that are coming up for the trash collection with the dumpsters with Waste Connection. Again, that's a new 5-year contract that is being presented, a $0 price increase for this year. It is now back in the hands of the attorney. We'll be getting it out to the board for approval shortly and sent to the membership for a vote. Again, that only affects those associations that are using the 2 or 4 yard dumpsters. And just a side note, the residential contract, which is your normal cans and recycling cans, has been renewed with Waste Connection and Hillsborough County, so they've agreed to an 18-month extension with Waste Connections on that end, so that's a good deal that Waste Connection will be the one provider inside the community servicing everybody. A couple notes on landscaping. We have acquired a new software called iAuditor and an iPad for Ryan Rourke. This will help improve his weekly reporting and data on the landscape vendors themselves and getting that to the landscape committee and the board for review. Sections 2 and 4 contracts do end in March 31st of 2021, and contract revisions have taken place, and it's with the landscape committee right now for final review before it's presented to the board. OLM inspections for landscape is next week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. Next cycle of palm tree trimming will start next month in October, so you'll see the crews back out there completing the full cycle again. And mulch, the first deliveries occurred this week. Everything's gone pretty smoothly on delivery and signatures for all the mulch. They will start installing that mulch next week and continue to deliver the next rounds. And again, they can only deliver 7 days out of installation, so the mulch won't be sitting there for weeks on end. And another note, work orders for the month of August were 29 total work orders. Again, mostly just pruning and requests from individuals, so it's a good sign on the work orders. And lastly, just again, after hours emergencies, if you're experiencing an after hour emergency, please give our number a call. That's the 813-642-8990. Anything going on inside your unit, outside, just give it a call. I answer almost all the time, and you'll get a call back from me if not, and we'll discuss what's going on, see if we can help you out. So it's worked out well since I've started. Had a couple last weekend and last night, so people are utilizing it, and it's going well. So please remember to call that if you've got something going on either way. That's all I have.
One question for you, Mr. Wilking, is your annual meeting notices that you sent, you said went out by email?
The notice that they're available to come into the office was sent out by email, and the draft agendas are sitting in all the president's boxes.
I am not sure all presidents have received that email notice.
We'll double check and
So
send it
did
out
you
again.
double check it?
When will they put it in boxes?
Yesterday. So,
Must have been after I was there then.
yeah, they're the long sheets of the agenda, so it's,
But that email I don't think actually did go out.
okay, we'll check on that.
Keith, we were talking before, but I was wondering if you'd come up with the average days for the work orders to go through the system, such as they're obligated to do a 5-day.
Yeah,
What's
we're still right in the middle between the 3 and 5 days, depending on the severity of the work order. If it's something that needs to be treated like a fungus, that's obviously started and worked on and implemented, and it will take several weeks to address. Sometimes we have broken items, pots and things like that, so reimbursement might take a little bit longer, but they're pretty good with getting it in, getting it sent over to the landscape vendors and getting it addressed, so we're right inside that window. Good.
Thank you, Keith.
Thank you.
Dave, do you have any report?
Nothing to report.
Noreen, do you have anything to report?
I do not. No, I do not.
Rick?
Not at this time.
Janice?
The insurance committee will be meeting early October, I believe it's October 8th. The insurance committee will be meeting early October to go over the budget, the insurance, what the budget of the insurance projections for next year.
Dan? Can you come up to the... I left you for last purposely.
Thanks.
Okay, as Keith has said, the Waste Connection contract is complete. It's agreed upon by all parties. It's been blessed by the attorneys. It will be presented to the membership at the next opportunity. The Land Trust annual audit of their financial statements has been completed, and the board is accepted. And
No, the board
The board
has
is
to-
not accepted. The board will accept it its next opportunity, and then it will be presented to the membership for approval.
No.
Oh, no, it won't, because it's not this trust, I'm sorry, I misspoke. The Vesta contract, the contract committee has met with representatives from Vesta, and we are in discussions and are pretty much at a complete meeting of the minds. There are some editorial changes that have to be made, and then it will be presented to the board and then to the membership. And that's all I have at this time.
Keeping you busy, Dan.
Yeah.
Alan, your treasurer's report.
All right, thank you, and good morning, all. I actually have two reports. The first one, I'm starting with last year's year-end report, the 2019-20 year-end. And of course, this report is proprietary and confidential and intended for presidents of Kings Point associations only. The Federation ended 2019-20 with a $62,875 in current assets for members' equity and $429,304 in restricted fund balances. The restricted funds included a $165,273 balance in the insurance deductible fund, the AC2. That leaves us in great shape to start the new year. We had a good year with only $25,577 in expenditures and $96,996 in revenue, adding to the balance of the insurance deductible fund. The registration fees fund ended with $136,968 balance, but the balance quickly became $68,268 in the next year, 2021, which is this current year, as $68,700 was transferred into the professional services fund in accordance with the budget approved by the Federation and by the membership. The contracts fund ended with $79,601, mainly from accumulated penalties from landscapers. As you may remember, the Federation will use about a third of this fund's balance, or $28,500, in lieu of association assessments for the 2 additional palm fertilizations for 2021. The legal fund, the AC1, ended with the required $25,000 balance. And no activity other than the revenues adding to get to that balance. The professional services fund ended with a deficit balance of $31,747. Legal fees were spent investigating several past actions as questions were raised. Investigation finding presentations will be made in the near future. This deficit disappeared quickly as the 2021 budget anticipated fees for investigations and for services anticipated in the search for the best way to reorganize Kings Point's governance. The 2021 budget called for an increase of $177,800 for the professional services fund, $109,100 from assessment fees, and $68,700 of excess funds transferred from the registration fees fund. And finally, remaining balances were $23,434 in the community promotions fund, $15,912 in the landscape fund, and $14,988 in the grounds cleanup fund. And that's the year-end report for 1920 from last year. Now, let me also give, though, the first quarter report, April 1st through June 30 of 2020. And of course, again, also, this report is proprietary and confidential and intended for presidents of Kings Point associations only. Total current assets ended with $64,813, with $435,251 in restricted funds. The revenue, operating revenues is on target, right on target, exactly, with $37,986 in actual revenues, right on budget. Operating expenses is actually quite a bit under budget in all areas. And the reserve reports, the landscape fund ended with $19,437, no expenditures, but additional $3,525 in revenue. The insurance deductible fund had $5,100 of expenditures, ending with $160,173 in balance. The grounds cleanup fund added in revenue $3,750, no expenditures, and ending with $18,738. The legal fund had no revenues and no expenditures and has the current required balance of $25,000. Professional services fund had revenues of $95,975, which include a transfer in, with expenditures of $16,199, ending with a balance of $48,029. The contracts fund had no revenue, but expenditures of $14,310, ending balance $65,291. Community promotion fund, no revenues, with an expenditure of $3,179, ending with a balance of $20,255. The registration fees had $10,000 even in revenues, and the expenditures of $68,700, that was the transfer into the professional services account, ending registration fee balance of $78,268. And that's the report.
Thank you,
Any
Al.
questions?
Good morning again, everyone. A couple of announcements. Disappointingly to myself and the rest of the Federation Board, Bill Rabb from District 8 found it necessary for personal reasons to resign his position on the board. That position will be filled by a special election. The special election is required in order to preserve the staggered terms for the Board of Directors. The special election, whoever is elected will fill Bill Rabb's remaining term. And I will tell you, the board feels a great loss in having Bill resign and losing Bill as a board member. He worked very diligently on a number of issues in the short 5 months he was here, and he is going to be greatly missed. An issue has come up recently regarding solicitation within Kings Point. It has been referred to legal counsel as to the actions that should be taken. And so everyone knows the process is if you discover someone soliciting in your neighborhood, which may or may not include the distribution of political brochures, please contact security. Security will make note of it. If the individual can be identified as outside of Kings Point, security will be dispatched to locate the individual and have that individual escorted off the property. If it can be identified that the individual is a resident of Kings Point, security will refer it to First Service, and First Service will contact the association. It is a association issue because solicitation is a part of your documents. And when a resident purchases a unit within Kings Point, they agree to non-solicitation, and therefore they would be in violation of solicitation rules of your association. And it is association issue to either have violation letters sent to that individual or contacting your individual association council to have it taken care of. If the individual cannot be identified as either from outside or inside, security will be dispatched as time permits. The security is quite busy, so they will send someone out. They will ask for identification. If it is a resident of Kings Point, they will again refer it to First Service and make a report on it. If it is an outside individual, that individual will be escorted from the Kings Point property. To clarify, there have been many complaints coming into the Federation and to Vesta regarding people who are wearing political hats, political t-shirts, or using political towels at the pool. That is a very thin line, and Vesta has been instructed per the Federation Legal Counsel that those are personal attire, personal items, and we have no control and should not get involved in the issue. It is a very, very thin line on telling someone they can't wear a hat, they can't wear a t-shirt, or they can't take a towel and put it on a chair. And that is the process that we will use going forward for the next 40 whatever days until the election is done regarding politicking within Kings Point. Please remember that the placement of signs and hanging of flags is specific to your individual association, and your association as president, you should review your documents to see what prohibition there is on placing of signs within your individual association. October will be an extremely busy month for both the board and the members. Just to review, because everyone seems concerned about the finances of the Federation and the Land Trust, that at the October 2nd board meeting, the year-end audit of the Land Trust financials will be presented for acceptance. In addition, Dan Armstrong has been advised that we would request that he provide the first quarter report to the board of the Land Trust. There also will be up in front of the board approval of the 21-22 Land Trust budget and the approval of the budget for the Federation prior to that being sent to the membership for their approval. Finally, I would like to take a few minutes to editorialize my feelings of Kings Point at the current time. Over the last couple of months, specifically in the last couple of weeks. The personal attacks on individuals, the personal differences have seemed to become greater. And this community, in my opinion, needs to put those issues aside and start working as a community. There is no reason for any board member within this community, as did occur on September 8th, to verbally abuse and become aggressive against one of our vendor's employees. That is unacceptable. It opens the vendor up to a unsafe work environment, and it opens the Federation up for other individuals of other boards within this community. I would ask people that no employee of any of our vendors should be abused by any resident, but specifically board members, whether it be the master, the federation, or individual associations, should be abusing a vendor's employee. We all live under a code of conduct, and I would expect that code of conduct to be adhered to within the community. This community has to put aside personal differences, personal agendas, and start working together, and not figure out how they can send out information to tear down board members, to tear down specific boards, to tear down individuals, whether they're on the board or not. It's got to stop. As the master's attorney who was looking at the merger said, it would be more fruitful to resolve the conflicts in Kings Point going forward at this time than it is to merge. As Mr. Massame advised on July 10th at the board meeting of the Federation, that he was not in favor of doing a merger at this time because of the personality conflicts within this community. We're all adults, folks. We've got to stop, or basically Kings Point is going to be known as the community that you don't want to live in because of the backbiting, the fighting, and the issues that people are raising on a personal thing. Let's work together to bring this community together. I will tell you one last item, is that the Federation and the Master Board are attempting to meet. The Federation is waiting for an answer from the Master Board on a couple of dates we provided. And I think it would be the first step in working on this community, so the Federation and the Master Board are looking forward to meeting, and hopefully that meeting will occur in the next couple of weeks. And that is the end of my editorializing. With that, I will open the meeting up for open forum. If you want to speak, if you would *6 your phone and identify yourself. And as I advised the individual from Oxford 1, that although he does not have or did not submit a proxy, any president on this call does have an opportunity to speak whether they submitted a proxy or not. However, you must be the designated representative from your association to speak, and you're limited to 3 minutes.
We did find Highgate C's proxy.
Okay, Jill, and just to let you know, Janice advised me that your Highgate C proxy was located, and it will be recorded that you were present at the meeting, and your votes will be recorded accordingly.
On the minutes.
Is there anyone who has any questions, comments, concern, what they would like to voice regarding the agenda items or any of the reports that were given.
Hi, Jeff, this is Vicki Ryan with Bedford A.
Good morning, Vicki.
Hi, a question for Ginger. The pool expansion that you mentioned, I'm just, it's actually not a question, it's a request from the entertainers that perform at Kings Point. If there's any possibility that in your plans you include some kind of a covered band shell to protect our equipment. We come out there with $10,000 that you only have like a net over you that protects you a little bit from the shade, but leaves your equipment at risk for, downpours, and also access to power. So those are just a couple of things that I know would make Kings Point, the poolside events, a lot better for the entertainers. So just putting those 2 cents out there. And based on my understanding, on a second topic, the definition of solicitation is to ask something from someone. My understanding is that when you sign up with a party affiliation, you acknowledge that you'll receive information from your party. And my understanding that literature drops are not requesting any information. They're actually no-knock literature drops that your party is providing you with information. You can either toss it or look at it. That is not solicitation. So I'm sure that the parties will both, or all, or however many parties are in the United States, will reach out and make that clarification.
Okay.
Just wanted to bring those 2 points up. Thanks.
In answer to your question, I can answer for Ginger, being the head of the RFEC. The expansion of the South Club pool deck went from just expanding for additional chairs to involve a lot more. One of the items that is a part of the pool deck expansion is a covered entertainment area that will have power located at it. So hopefully that answers your question. As solicitation or dropping off of literature, that is truly an individual association issue. If an association has an issue regarding someone dropping stuff off, and you are correct, solicitation is asking for something. It depends, and this is going to have to be between the association, their council, and First Service as to how they want to handle it. If the brochure is asking you to vote one way or the other, it could be solicitation, and I do know, Vicki, and I agree with you, that there are many residents in this community that have asked or are affiliated with a party, regardless of what the party is, and do expect to receive literature. So it gets to be a very touchy subject of how it is done, but basically that is an individual association, and it's per the documents for that association that would have to handle it. It is not an issue that Vesta would get involved in from a security perspective, but more of an issue that the association would have to work with their property management company, First Service, and see how they can resolve that issue. Did that answer your question, Vicki? Vicki, did you mute yourself?
Yes, thank you.
Did that answer your question?
I did, but yes, it did. Thank you, I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Any other questions, concerns, comments?
Mr. President,
Yes?
Jane Norton from Nantucket 2.
Morning, Jane.
Good morning. The petitioners that submitted the request that's under new business, item number 1, will be deferring their 3 minutes to address this after the presentation is given.
That will be taken under consideration because normally there is not an open forum after the business. I know it's important, and we will be more than glad to discuss it after the item is discussed, we'll be glad to have a conversation on it. Although it is normally not the way the membership meetings are held. But Jane, I understand that it is of interest to those petitioners, so I'm willing to make an exception to allow conversation after that presentation is given.
I appreciate that, Mr. President. However, in the operating procedures, I don't see anything under open forum or membership meetings, only for board meetings. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other comments?
Jack, Larry Williams, IDB.
Good morning, Larry.
Good morning. Comment about today's review of the legal fund. I think it's a really good thing and reasonable oversight of the Federation. I would encourage the petitioners as well as other presidents to press for oversight prerogatives over the Master Association as well, considering they spend a lot more than the Federation of Owners might.
I understand your comment, but if you want to promote to the presidents doing one thing or another with a different board, I think basically that is outside of the membership meeting related to the Federation.
That's fine.
Any other comments, concerns? Then having none, we will move on to new business. And I'm going to,
Mr. President, I just have a question. This is Susan Rattle from Manchester 2. The RFEC meetings, how are they being conducted now during this virus epidemic?
the RFEC meetings.
How is that? I'm not familiar with how you're handling it now. Nothing was mentioned. It used to be in the bingo room. Is it still continuing like that, or is it held some other way?
No, it is held in the North Forum with attendees of the RFEC.
And are presidents invited there?
No, because in order to invite presidents, we would have to exceed the limit. And any meetings that are held by the Land Trust or the Federation basically have attendant limits. And if you attempt to allow a president or a group of presidents, you must allow not only all presidents and other attendees who want to attend the meeting, and we would exceed the governor's requirements of meetings of no greater than 50 people.
I understand that. So in order to know what takes place at that meeting, how are we able to find out? Is there some report on it that I can see online? What kind of monies are being voted on, or what direction we're headed as far as improvements goes, or whatever? How's that handled now?
Well, when it comes to the RFEC, is regarding the land trust expenditures and the land trust budget. Those are at the sole discretion of the Federation Board. It is not a membership issue. The Federation Board has approval of expenditures by the Land Trust and the budget of the Land Trust. I can tell you that when we are looking at the pool club expansion, just so you would know, has not excuse me, been approved by the RFEC, nor it has been approved by the board. But any expenditure for that South Club pool deck expansion, and it's really a pool deck, I'm gonna say refurbishing, because we're looking at doing a lot of things, such as Vicki Ryan mentioned, putting in a covered entertainment stage, also looking at putting in a snack bar, so food doesn't have to be run in and out of the clubhouse. Any expenditures for that will come out of the capital improvement reserves, which currently have about $1.7 million in them, and therefore it will not impact the residents in Kings Point at all for any expenditure that will be needed for that particular expansion.
Jack?
Okay, so I appreciate you explaining that. This is the part I'm missing. I mean, I was able to go in the past to hear what's going on. I mean, how do we find out this kind of information that you just,
The minutes are on kpscc.com.
Excuse me, wait a minute, Ginger,
The minutes from the meetings
the
are on.
minutes are on kpscc.com, Susan.
Minutes of the,
RFEC,
Select Committee?
yes.
Okay. And the minutes are detailed. It's not just that we have a meeting like we do with the,
No, they are
the
with us.
Federation membership meeting.
Well, how detailed?
The discussions are not there.
I will tell you that when the discussions of expenditures or approval of expenditure dollars, they are discussed at a Federation board meeting. When it is presented to the Federation board, the RFEC can only make recommendations to the board. It's the ultimate decision of the board for those expenditures of those dollars. And as presidents and other residents, it would be on the agenda for discussion at a board meeting, and you would receive all information at that time when it comes to specific dollars that are being spent. You have in your budget package from last year the expenditures that are being done. There is no other basic projects that we are looking at that have not been discussed except for the South Club pool remodeling. So there's been very little happening within the RFEC from that perspective. So there is very little that within the minutes, as it is in the current planning stages and quote stages. There is no dollar figures that we could even put into it, and that information. I hate to interrupt you, but your 3 minutes are up.
It is.
Thank you for your comment.
Jack, I'm sorry to interrupt. I think what she's asking is if people can call in and listen in, and that is on the agenda on KPSCC, the number they can call into. I think that's what she's trying to
Okay.
get.
If someone would like to listen to the RFEC call, there is a bridge that's listed on the KPSCC website
Same number as this one.
to be able to call in. Ginger advised me it's the same number you called in for today.
Okay, so we're able to hear an audio version
Yes.
of the meeting.
That is correct.
Oh, that's what I was asking, so we can hear it, just like we used to hear it when we attended.
Yes, Susan,
An answer went from the.
Okay, that's my point. Thank you. I don't want to take any more of your time.
you're welcome. Any other comments before we move on to the new business agenda? There are 2 items on new business. One is the petitioned detailed breakdown of legal expense, and the other is an update on the status of the mediation and possible legal claim by the Master Association. The only reason it is being raised is because having a possible legal claim against the Federation requires us to involve our legal counsel and also to notice our D&O policy. I can tell you that an attorney has been assigned by Travelers to defend the Federation in concert with the Federation's legal counsel. We are not a part of any mediation, as the mediation that was requested as a contract dispute, and the Federation is not a part of that contract. So we may get from legal counsel updates, but basically we are not involved, and we have been informed that the Federation is prohibited from participating in the mediation, although according to Travelers, who is handling this claim, which could cost the association from travelers thousands of dollars. And it does cost the Federation for legal expense, and it's already cost us thousands of dollars from that perspective. Not being involved in mediation, we have no say whether their lawsuit against First Service and the Federation goes forward with the claim person and the assigned legal counsel for the Federation from travelers. With that, I will turn the meeting over to the treasurer of the Federation to provide the breakdown and detail regarding the legal expenses that was petitioned, which you all received.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. And again, I'm going to remind you that this report is proprietary and confidential and intended for presidents of Kings Point Association only. In response to the requests, number one, all sources of revenue into the Federation's professional services account comes from the Mainscape Mediation annual budget assessments approved by the Federation and the membership, and a transfer from the transfer fee account also approved by the Federation and the membership. There were no expenditures from the legal fund during this period of requested AC1. Also, the $50,000 reference in 3.02 of AC1 applies only to expenditures from the legal fund, not from the professional services fund. So following are the amounts spent in legal bills from the Federation, from the professional services fund for the period requested, April 1st, 2019 through August 31st, 2020. Number one, investigation into the 2017 land trust loan refinancing and past insurance policies, and $47,766.82 was spent for that. Next item is contracts. $19,492.96 was spent on contracts. Renewal of the contract with First Service prior to February 21, 2020, that was the membership meeting on February 21, was $1,915.25. Renewal of the contract with with First Service post February 21st, 2020 was $12,933.75. General items totaled $15,888.75. An alternate insurance proposal, $8,811.50 was spent on that. Pending lawsuits, $2,215.50 was spent. The Master Association threatened lawsuit so far in this period, $2,241.50. And the lease of the 1902 building was actually a credit of $2,825.50 for a total of $108,440.53. I'm going to repeat those and just explain a little bit more what is in that. So, the investigation into the 2017 land trust loan refinancing and past insurance policies, where $47,766.82 was spent. Holland and Knight attorneys were hired to investigate whether there was appropriate due diligence and fulfillment of fiduciary responsibilities by all parties, specifically in the refinance of the loan by the land trust in 2017 and the insurance renewals when the market was softening and offering lower rates. The contracts amount were $19,492.96 was spent. This is legal assistance needed on various new or renewed contracts, including landscape, mulch, tree, the insurance broker RFP, where USI was named, the RFP for pest control, where Bug Guys won the contract, and settling contract disputes. Renewal of the contract with First Service pre-February 21, 2020 was $1,915.25. This is the legal cost prior to 2/21/20 revising First Service residential contract for renewal. The renewal of contract with First Service post 2/21/20 was $12,933.75. And these were the legal costs revising the First Service residential contract for renewal with the self-appointed contract committee involved after the February 21st, 20 membership meeting. General items where $15,888.75 was spent. And general items include attorney help with various items such as transfer fees, legal fund, television content, mortgage foreclosure case, the Federation ability to hire attorney without membership approval, and other miscellaneous discussions. Alternate insurance proposal, $8,811.50. The Federation Board considered an alternate insurance brokerage arrangement. Pending lawsuits, $2,215.50. There's an old lawsuit relating to an accident on Kings Point property and another dispute involving damage done by a landscape contractor. The Master Association threatened the lawsuit. So far, during this period, $2,241.50. In July 2020, the Master Association threatened the lawsuit against First Service. The Master decided to add the Federation as a second defendant in their threatened lawsuit. The total cost of this lawsuit to Kings Point residents is really the total spent by the Master to sue and the total spent by the Federation to defend this lawsuit. Shouldn't we work things out before suing ourselves? Just an editorial comment. And then finally, the lease of the 1902 building with a credit of $2,825.50. And this is for legal work relating to the change in the use of the 1902 building by the Master Association. The 1902 building is owned by the Land Trust. Therefore, as the Federation was paying these legal bills, the Land Trust reimbursed the Federation for all the costs, including the $2,825.50.
You can open the line up for comments, questions.
Questions?
Does he have to hit stars?
Anyone who has any questions on Alan's report, you can star 6 to be recognized.
Mr. President,
Yes?
this is Jane Norton from Nantucket 2. I would like to just ask the treasurer a few questions. The only definitive number that you've given on any of these contracts seems to be the subcommittee of the whole renegotiation of the first service contract. So is the board saying that the community didn't deserve legal representation on a $3.7 million contract? That's the biggest contract we have to approve. And if the Federation Board Contract Committee had done their job in the first place and given us a proper contract to approve back in February, there would have been no need for this additional expense. However, my real question is, there was over $90,000 spent for legal fees, and you overspent the budget by $31,747, which is 67% of the budget. And it was never brought back to the membership according to your AC code that we had to approve something that went over $50,000 in legal fees. And it is not just the legal fund. It says any legal fees spent by the Federation Board, spent by the Federation membership, or any other legal fees. So could the treasurer please explain that to me?
Let me,
When was that approved by the membership?
AC1 relates to the use of the legal fund. The legal fund is not used to pay legal bills of the Federation. Those are paid out of the professional services fund. It says in the AC1 that the Federation may use the legal fund to pay legal bills. And if it does, it cannot exceed $50,000. The membership approved in December of 2018 to move from the legal fund to a professional service for paying these expenses. So when you look at AC1, it is referenced in the bylaws and the operating procedures specifically related to the use of the legal fund. The legal fund is not used to pay legal bills and has not been since December of 2018. The membership has approved the expenses for professional services for the year 1920 and 2021 for professional services. That becomes the discretion of the board as to how the dollar figures that are in professional services will be paid.
So if I understand correctly, Mr. President, what you're saying is that the board created two separate accounts, okay, for legal funds. One for the Federation membership and one for the Federation board to expend. So you didn't have to come back to the membership according to your AC1.
No, there was an issue that arose in 2018 regarding the legal fund and how the legal fund could be used and funded, and it was the determination of the board in 2018, which did not include many of the people sitting here, to establish the professional services account to pay legal bills out of and remove it out of the legal fund. Because at that time, the legal fund did not have sufficient dollars in it to pay all the legal expenses, including the mediation expenses.
But aren't legal funds no matter what?
No, the legal fund is established for the use by the associations for legal issues they may have as an association.
So the board gets to manipulate money.
No, where's the manipulation of money? Any money within the budget is approved by the Federation membership. It was given to the Federation membership approval in November of 2018 for the 1920 year. and it was given to the membership for approval in 2019 for the
Maybe the membership needs to revise the AC code then.
that would be a decision of, that would require a bylaw amendment. And Jane, no offense, but you're over your 3 minutes. I know you wanted to ask those questions, but we do have a 3-minute limit.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President, this is Mike Bardell. I would like to speak.
Yes, Mike?
I would like to talk about the statement on the refinance of the 2017 loans that the board took on. I understand that the board says they have a fiduciary responsibility, and I don't ignore that. But I would like to know a couple of answers, and I will give them all to you, and then you can answer them if you want, what I hope you would. What was the purpose of this investigation? And how many inquiries did you get, and how many units do they represent?
Even
Did
if
you expect as a result?
there
And
were,
what did we get for this expending of almost $49,000 in the last fiscal year? And if there were concerns about the legal issue of conducting this loan, why do we still retain Bush Ross if there was a concern over the loan? This firm was the one we had when the loan was completed, and it is my understanding that due to the size of this loan, it had to be reviewed by many at the firm. And were there possible conflict of interest reviewed prior to hiring Holland and Knight? And I think a timeline is in order for this, so I will give it to you. This was first mentioned at a meeting, a board meeting in October, and then again in November. When asked about it, they gave no specific info except for that it would be told at a later point, which was also mentioned today. On 1/20/20, I received an email from President Ryan Setzer to send all emails and correspondence to him, not to the board. And I disregarded that because I don't send it to one individual. I would have been happy to send anything I had to the board. On 5/20, which was May 12th this year, I received an email from Attorney David Lisco of Holland and Knight, which said they are the attorney of record, requesting to speak with me regarding the loan. Called other board members that were on the board, and they got the same email. I generally don't speak to attorneys unless I know what is going on. I have never received any conversation from the board regarding this loan. I've heard a lot of innuendos, but I've never heard of anything being cited, just a lot of general meandering about Frank Surface and Vesta. I called my attorney, Derek Appleton, who had done work for me personally before and for our association. He said he would call him and find out what was going on. Upon hearing from the attorney, it was thought that this could end up the whole investigation sooner with the meeting. I called all other board members, and everyone agreed to a meeting with a couple of conditions. This meeting would be done one time in a 1-hour time limit. It would be a conference call of his type because I don't know what system they use. We would be provided a copy of his final determination, and Eric Appleton would be on the call, but only as a professional witness. He said that he could not represent any of us because he was also the Federation attorney at the time when this loan was completed.
3.5 minutes.
Mike, you want us to answer your, Mike, excuse me for interrupting you. Mike, excuse me, Mike,
Time.
Mike. We have allowed you to go over 4 minutes in time. We will attempt to answer your question. There were individuals within this community that questioned the spending of $8.5, almost $9 million to refinance a loan. And did Frank Surface or other individuals have a fiduciary responsibility to the residents within Kings Point and what work was done and by who it was done and what documentation was available. The Federation Board attempted to find that information. We were unable to determine, and we needed legal expertise to make determinations and have the paperwork that was done reviewed, assessments made, whether it was an assessment on the Kings Point Finance LLC, who holds the mortgage. Assessment was made and looked at regarding the work and diligence that was done by the board in place at that time. There are many documents that are not available, which the attorney wanted to discuss. There would be a conflict of interest to have Mr. Appleton attend the meeting that the members of the previous board requested. The attorney was very clear. He had already spoken to Mr. Appleton. Mr. Appleton provided that attorney with the documentation, and he had no more or further questions of Mr. Appleton. Ross was not involved. Bush Ross, as is general knowledge, employed Mr. Appleton at that time, and Mr. Appleton wrote an opinion. However, in the opinion he wrote, he did not provide any assessment of the value to the loan or whether the loan was a good idea. In any opinion he wrote, he reviewed the documents. And that was what his opinion did. Because there was $7.8 million SWAT fee paid, along with closing costs paid, the loan was reviewed in its entirety by all parties involved, whether it was Frank Surface, Dan Armstrong, or members of the board, as to actually what was done. And that is what the board was responsible is, did we, and the question was given, did the residents of this community receive the benefit of spending $9 million, which we are paying interest on today, and we'll be paying interest on for the next 12 years, was it in the best interest of the residents of Kings Point? That is why it was referred to council. This board does not have the legal expertise to make determinations, and it was referred to the council, legal counsel. Now, when you have a legal counsel having to go back into the loan documents from 2007, the loan documents from 2013, the loan documents from 2017, going through the not only the loan documents, but also the trust documents and all the work that was done when the original loan was established in 2007, takes numerous, massive hours of research to even ensure that the $7.8 million was actually paid to Bank America had to be researched. They are things that this Federation Board and the Federation Board that was sitting last year did not have the capability to make any type of legal determination, and that is why it was referred to outside counsel. It was not referred to Bush Ross. It was referred to an alternate because of any conflict of interest, because Bush Ross represented the Federation Board at that time.
Is that your reply?
Yes?
Okay, I didn't hear in the answer to my question, what was the result? And were all conflicts of interest with Collins and Knight resolved prior to hiring them?
We had no conflict of interest with Holland and Knight. Holland and Knight has never been engaged by the Federation Board. Holland and Knight was not involved in the loan in any way, shape, or form, either in 2007, 2013, 2017. We are not at liberty to advise at this time any results of the investigation. Those are attorney-client privilege, and until a determination is made of the findings and what will occur from the result of those findings, we are not at liberty to discuss any of the investigation or any of the attorney-client privilege of conversations, emails of the finding of Holland and Knight.
I also didn't get an answer, Jack, for how many people made an inquiry and how many homes did they represent? Otherwise, this is a large expenditure on potentially just very few people making a complaint.
I will tell you that there were numerous residents, not necessarily presidents, there were numerous residents within this community, including residents who had previously served on the master board, who raised this issue continually. There were residents that raised, where's my $9.33 that I was supposed to save from the loan, and I haven't seen that $9.33. There were all kinds of questions on why did we spend so much money and what did we get and where is it? So it wasn't presidents that brought this to the board, it was the residents within Kings Point who have continually raised this since 2017. The membership didn't even vote, Mike, to approve the refinancing of the loan. It was done by the board. And the residents have asked questions since that was done. You know, people have ripped apart Vesta, they have ripped apart Frank Surface, they have questioned actions of the board regarding this loan. An answer needed to be determined to ensure that the residents of this community were served appropriately by Mr. Surface and the board and the attorney and everybody involved.
So it's still ongoing.
A determination as to the next step in the investigation has not been determined yet.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. President, this is Liz Argot from Grantham, and I request to be able to speak.
Yes, Liz?
Okay. I have a question for you. Are you aware, or everybody else aware, that the South Club pool extension money is using what we put in there as a result of the loan and using the $9 to be able to do capital improvement so that we did not have to assess the membership? That's how the pool extension is being done. And I think everybody needs to know that, because I think it's a very important situation.
I would only say that the money that was put into the capital improvement, which is just over $1 million out of the 1.7 million that is in there, basically, we are currently paying and have been paying since 2017, 4.42% interest on that money sitting in the capital improvement for the last 3 years. We have been paying interest on money that we haven't used. There is over what was put in there on the loan, $700 and some thousand that was put in there. $500 and some $1,000 that was put in there was basically the second year after the residents in Kings Point were advised they would receive $9.33. They received it for the first year. The second year, the land trust took part of that $9.33 for the actual repair and replacement reserves, and the remainder of it went to the land trust. It didn't go back to the residents, it went to the land trust for capital improvements. So the residents reap the benefit for 1 year for refinancing that loan.
And the money doesn't come for the pool extensions, not
I
capital
disagree, but I will
improvements.
move on for sake of argument. I too am concerned about the overspending of the legal funds. But worse than that, if it could get any worse.
I would only like to correct you, the legal fund, there has been no expenses out of the legal fund. The legal,
Yes, but let's just call it legal expenses.
No.
But worse than that, if it could get any worse, the apparent manipulation and misuse of membership money. Clearly, the administrative codes say, and I quote, may use funds in pursuing any legal action approved by the membership, and any legal expenses over $50,000 a given year must be
Time.
by the membership.
Liz,
And one was-
Liz, your time is up, but I will answer your question. The legal fund does not apply to the professional services line item in the budget. And the legal fund in AC1 says the Federation may use the legal fund. It was determined in 2018 not to use the legal fund, but to set up a separate fund. And that fund has been called professional services, has been approved in the Federation budget for the last 2 years.
She should know since she's.
Which
the
was
one that
approved by the membership
She
for
created
the
it?
guise of using it for governance merger projects, misleading the membership.
We have the discretion as a board, and Liz, you've served on the board, we have discretion on the board to use the money as the board sees fit. That's why you have the board.
If she's the
Oh,
one
what-
that
what-
created
And your time is up.
I'm a little confused. Isn't
My time
her
up
board,
when you used most of it.
No, I
Is it-
did, no, I did not.
wasn't she in charge of the, hold on,
Wait,
hold on.
wait a minute.
Wasn't she in charge of the board that actually made a move to do transfer fees and said it was for paying first service for fees that they did, when in fact they didn't ever do it, and they transferred it immediately
They can't
to.
hear you, but let's,
But,
you know, there has been a lot of,
Mr. President, point of order. Mr. President, point.
yeah, point of order, stand down.
Identify yourself.
This is David Wetmore from Acadia 2.
yes,
I am
David.
keeping time up, and you actually used over 1 minute of Liz's time. So don't say you didn't.
Well, isn't it 3 minutes total, like for the discussion and everything?
Yes, it's 3 minutes total discussion.
I'm doing 3 minutes total, David.
I am following
Thanks
the
for
direction of my secretary when he tells it's time up, and she advises it's time.
Well, you should give her at least 1 more minute, because you used up over a minute.
So it's
Fine.
only, that I'm only timing their talking, not the answer.
Like
Is
I
that
said.
correct, David?
I am timing the whole thing, and he took over a minute to answer one of her questions.
Right, but it was a total of 3 minutes. Each person gets 3 minutes at the mic.
Liz,
whether
if
the
you have
answer-
another question, I'd be more than glad to answer it.
I have a comment that, the committee as a whole was accused of causing an over $12,000 in legal fees. In actuality, if the first service contract had been done properly and been written properly to begin with, there would not have been a need for
Do
the
you,
membership
Liz, do you have a question?
to create the committee as a whole.
Liz, do you have a question?
Manipulation of accounts, attempting to circumvent expenditures, or any other actions taken by the board in violation
We couldn't do
of
this when
that
she was
code
on the board.
to be overlooked
She never
by the
would let
membership.
anybody talk.
Have you ever reviewed account requirements? Why not? You should.
we have legal counsel that has advised us on the expenditure of dollars out of the professional services fund. And if you want us to go back to our legal counsel again, we'll be more than glad to do it. We have the capability, once the budget is passed, to expend the dollars out of that fund for what it is used for.
She knows that because she set it up.
That, son,
She is skilled at manipulating dollars.
and you were the one who contacted
Is
the
it time
attorney.
up? Time's up.
Any of that committee has.
Thank you for your comment. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your comment, Liz.
That's usually my comment, but.
We know that.
Let me make one comment just regarding AC1 and AC2. Because when we talked about this, when we created the professional service account, we worked with the attorney who wrote AC1 and AC2. And if you look at AC1 and AC2, and according to the attorney who wrote it, the purpose for both of those is to help the associations. AC2 is very clear, it's only associations reimbursing their insurance fund. AC1 also is for the associations in case they're sued to help with their legal cost. The extra that was written that the association, that the federation could use part of it, that's just, again, that's it. And the current federation decided, forget that, we're not using any of the legal fund, let's take all of our legal expenses and run them through our professional service account, keeping those AC1 and AC2 clean and pure. They're for the associations. They're not intended to be used or limit the federation in any way. That's all I have.
Anyone else?
Any other questions, comments?
Yes. Mr. President, this is Eileen Pico. I am the president of the Kensington Association. I have a couple of questions about the presentation made by the treasurer, so I guess I'll direct this to the treasurer. I will comment that, we can go back and forth all day, but the bottom line is legal fees are legal fees by any other name. So you call them professional fees, you call them legal fees, they're still legal fees, because they're paid to attorneys to do legal work on our behalf. I would like an explanation of one item that the treasurer brought up regarding, it was $8,811.50 for insurance regarding an alternate insurance option. I would like an explanation as to what that alternate insurance option consisted of and what happened to that. And the other thing I was wondering is that, if the community, at this point, the community is not appearing to do a merger, then the transfer fees or registration fees that were set aside to do more research on that.
Oh, that's
Turned to the capital improvement fund for the benefit of the whole community.
what's she talking about?
Those are my two questions, please.
Okay, in regard to, and I can answer for Alan, in regard to the alternate insurance, an individual came to the Federation Board, made a proposal on a different manner in which to procure our insurance. His proposal was reviewed by the attorney. There was an issue regarding non-disclosure with that individual and the information he provided us. Our attorney worked with that individual's attorney, and ultimately the board made the decision not to proceed to and pursue that alternate insurance offering that was made to the board. Does that answer your question on number one?
In general terms, yes.
In regard to the transfers of the monies that are collected, I will remind you, as you were president, that those monies were collected basically under in determination of false pretenses, because a motion was passed by the membership to collect those monies to pay for administrative costs of First Service in March. In fact, it was at the March meeting, yet within 30 to 45 days, the board passed a resolution before the monies were even collected to transfer those dollars to the capital improvement, yet the dollars weren't even going to start being collected until July. The membership never approved the transfer of those dollars to the land trust at all. And if I recall correctly, Eileen, you were the president of that time, and basically, if you passed a motion to the membership and went to the membership and said, we would like to collect money from people moving into this community to pay for administrative costs, and 45 days later said, no, the board is passing a motion to transfer these dollars to the land trust. What you are accusing the board of misusing funds today, it's nothing more than we did in the past back in 2012, 2013 when we moved these funds. So, I don't think we need to go over and start pointing fingers at individuals, but there are many things that have been done by previous boards and maybe this board that individual residents are not pleased with, or individual presidents are not pleased with. There is a process for handling issues, and if you believe this board or previous boards have misused its authority, there are recourses for the presidents and the members to take.
Sir, I have not accused this board of misusing anything. I simply asked if it was not going to be used for the merger, is this money going to go back to being used for capital improvement, or for what else? I'm not accusing anyone of anything. I'm simply asking a question.
Eileen, I cannot tell you what those dollars will be used for. As Alan said, they are sitting out in a reserve. And as the Federation, whether it is this board or a future board, decides where those monies should go, it will be recommended and approved by the Federation membership as to what happens with those dollars.
Thank you. And as I said, I was not accusing the board of any improper action.
Other people on this call, Eileen, I understand you specifically, but other people on this call have accused the Federation Board of misusing funds. And I'll be more than glad to take another question or another call from another individual. Does anybody else have a comment, concern, question?
Okay, let's move on.
Then we will move on to good and welfare. Any good and welfare announcements? Hearing no request for good.
We did that first, the legal.
What? Yeah, I did that first. Yeah, I did it first.
You did that before, didn't you?
Seeing I hear no requests for comments on good and welfare, Janice, would you approve adjourning the meeting?
I approve to adjourn the meeting.
And therefore, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for attending.
25.